back in the day when you ordered a pizza, you called the pizza shop. They made the pie, and their driver delivered. Then we swapped out the phone for a website.
A deal this good only lives online.
And then we went back to the phone. See, nowadays, your pizza order probably isn't going to a place with red pepper shakers and tablecloths, but the one of these. A restaurant without a dining room, sharing a roof with dozens of other restaurants without dining rooms. It's called a ghost kitchen. And whether you call it a game changer or industry crusher, a COVID necessity or a public nuisance, as technology changes how we eat, there's definitely a new player coming to town. That brings us here to the 4,000 block of Rockwell Avenue, just north of Irving Park Road in Chicago's North Center neighborhood. Some would say it's here, among the row homes, dog lovers, and one-way streets, that the future of food service is playing out, one car at a time.
One neighbor who lives on the block basically compared it to a Portillo's drive-thru. Anyone in Chicago who has gone to a Portillo's has gone through a drive-thru. And it is kind of a snaky, windy thing to get in and out to get your food. And that's creating these log jams.
But generally a very quiet area. And then when cloud kitchens came in, to say it disrupted that environment would be a real understatement.
In the middle of all of this is Rockwell Food Center, a ghost kitchen facility run by a company called Cloud Kitchens, the biggest player in the ghost kitchen business. And by business, I want you to think of an apartment complex for restaurants, a food court that's delivery only. See, ghost kitchen companies divvy up the space, set up the equipment, handle the supply chain, maintenance and red tape, and manage orders from the horde of delivery services. No dining room, no wait staff, just gear and infrastructure to get food out the door. The big food chains like them because it lets them push delivery hard without bringing more traffic to their stores. For smaller restaurants, ditching the dining room saves a lot of cash, and everyone likes the low startup costs, and that takes some of the risk out of an industry where failure is the norm. You'll find most ghost kitchens in industrial and manufacturing areas, big spaces close to highways that can handle lots of traffic. The business model for ghost kitchens is volume. We're talking dozens of deliveries an hour. And the problem for Rockwell is the neighbors say the block isn't built for it. Few people know the neighborhood better than this cat, Alex Hernandez. He's a reporter for Block Club Chicago.
Third-party delivery drivers, they will line up on that area and try to find a parking space that lets them pull in, hop out, go into Cloud Kitchens, pick up their order, and then return to their car. And so you have two directions of cars on a two-way street trying to find parking directly in front of Cloud Kitchens. And that's at the same time that people are pulling in to drop off their dog at the vet. At the same time, people are going to maybe pick up beer at Burning Bush Brewing.
Matt Martin, the alderman of the 47th Ward, says it's a tough neighborhood to play traffic cop.
They're quite narrow. There are a number of occasions where it's just one direction, very small scale infrastructure in terms of what it will tolerate, as well as more generally public safety issues, oftentimes involving very problematic verbal altercations between third-party delivery drivers and then residents and other businesses.
It's heightened tensions for everyone on that block. You have dog owners taking their dog to the vet. At the same time, you have third-party delivery drivers picking up food. The speed with which they deliver the food is tied to their livelihood. So you have this mix of everyone seeking parking on this block, and that's creating these Portillo's level log jam on a two-way street next to all this residential property.
This stretch of road is zoned for light manufacturing, and because of that, Cloud Kitchen says they're just as legit as the brewery down the street. But the community and Cloud Kitchens, they're locked in a never-ending tug-of-war. They're looking for a way to get the quiet back while giving Cloud Kitchens space to run their business.
When it comes to Cloud Kitchens, all you've got to do is cook. We'll handle the rest, which means lots of happy customers.
With a $5 billion valuation, Cloud Kitchens has some happy customers. And there's plenty of other ghost kitchen companies in America, and Cloud is the big dog. Deidra Suber, Cloud Kitchen Chicago manager, says what's happening on Rockwell is kind of unique.
We have 32 current live facilities in the United States. And our situation at Rockwell is the only one in which we're having a conflict between us and the community.
Rockwell is Cloud's 5th facility in Chicago, but it's the only one smack dab in the neighborhood it serves.
In every environment, right, there's trade-offs, right? Yes, do our buildings bring cars, but we're also providing food to a community a lot quicker. If I use Rockwell for an example, over 50% of the food that we deliver is less than a mile away. So it's not like this food is being shipped downtown or, to the south side.
Cloud Kitchen's biggest defense? It kept local restaurants in business during the lockdown. One local restaurateur you can ask about it is Lisa Youen, the former owner of Shanghai Inn up the street in Ravenswood.
We were closed for almost 3.5 months. Didn't know where things were going. Very unexpected. Future is very bleak. My lease is coming up.
Lisa was facing both financial and racial pressure, and she started questioning her future early during the pandemic.
We had people calling us, we don't want Chinese people or Asian people to bring our food out to us. 2 days later, someone calls us, well, how long has your cooks been in the kitchen? Did it go back to China? Over and over, you get phone calls, go back to China. I feel like I was being interrogated. Finally, I was just drained. Should I give it up? Oh, I should just retire.
Lisa sold Shanghai Inn, but that retirement thing, that didn't work for her. She wanted to cook and found herself back in business at Rockwell.
She comes in, she unlocks her space, she cooks her food for her customers, right? I'm taking care of pests, water. If there's an outage, I take care of internet, right? So there's an extra layer of comfort that, there's gonna be a lot of less unknowns in our space because my team is taking care of that.
It's been 4 months. Revenue is doing, we're doing really good. It's safe. Everything's up to code, really nice professional equipment. I don't have to worry about the dining room. It saves a lot of overhead. It's a very great concept. I just think this is going to exist for a very long time. This is the future kitchen.
Now, that might be true, Lisa, but that's a future where restaurants need technology companies to survive. And that's a future Chicago restaurateur Scott Weiner, he ain't having it.
The restaurants are getting squeezed. And for me, I'm in a fortunate situation where once dine-in recovers, I have big restaurants and delivery is not all of my business. But the small guy on the street, the small pizza place with maybe 10, 15 seats, that is probably 75, 85% of their business. And if that's coming through a third party now, they're just sort of chipping that away.
Now, Scott owns the 50/50 Restaurant Group, home to more than a few Chicago favorites over dozens of locations. Now, he's been trying to beat the tech companies at their own game. Created his own payment apps, he uses his own drivers, and yet he says he's nowhere close to a level playing field.
Roots Pizza. If you are looking for my restaurant right now and you search Roots Pizza, ads for Grubhub, DoorDash, and Uber will come up to try to steal you to their page versus coming direct to me. I have a budget, which it's not insignificant, but I don't have a $300 million marketing budget. I'm spending half of my budget just defending my own restaurant's name. The reality, though, is eventually I run out of my budget, and their budget's unlimited.
Then there's the concern about what Chicago would look like if restaurants start moving out of neighborhoods and into warehouses.
The thing that makes neighborhoods vibrant and makes them grow is the retail in the neighborhood, the restaurants, the retail. Restaurants are the anchors that create growth in neighborhoods. If you can just open up ghost kitchen concepts in manufacturing, then eventually it just doesn't make sense to have any sort of retail on these main streets. And the fabric of our neighborhoods is gonna die.
And that, my friends, is not a pretty picture. But Mott Smith and Brian Albert from Amp Kitchen say you avoid that nightmare by doing one simple thing: investing in the neighborhood.
When our facilities come into places, it has a kind of stabilizing effect on the community because we're a real presence, making a neighborhood feel like a neighborhood.
Our passion has always been lifting up communities that are emerging. Maybe have a good soul, maybe have some really cool infrastructures, but something hasn't yet caught. Some spark hasn't yet happened.
Amp Kitchens is based in Los Angeles, and they're cutting the ribbon on their first Chicago operation, a former Zenith factory in Belmont Cragen.
We also love restoring old buildings. We love finding big empty shells that have been sitting vacant or underutilized for years and putting new life in. All three of our Amp Kitchens locations were former warehouses. Our two in LA were actual warehouses that maybe had 6 or 10 or 12 jobs. And by the time we were done and our tenants moved in, there were 200 to 300 jobs on site.
Amp focuses more on food manufacturing and quick delivery, opening up space to entrepreneurs who've outgrown their home kitchens.
Somebody starting a new food product or a new food business can expect to spend 12 to 24 months and $300,000 to $500,000 at the bottom end. And if your goal is to sell your family's amazing bread recipe, that's kind of a recipe for disaster. We make it possible for you to say yes to that opportunity to sell your product for the first time at Whole Foods without needing $1 million in the bank and without being able to go without making money for a year.
That's the story of Jars by Jasmine, a married team of dessert lovers who've set up shop at Cloud Kitchen's South Loop location.
I have always been a sweet lover. I have a friend who owns a restaurant in the city. She needed desserts. She asked me to kind of help out for her restaurant. We did well. And I was like, oh, this can be something here. Yeah. This is how we kind of got to the concept of Jars by Jasmine. It's out of our home for 2 years and then wanted to take it on a professional level. So we found Cloud Kitchens and we were able to have the commercial space and it kind of worked out well.
Jars by Jasmine focuses on getting their desserts in stores, but they also do catering and delivery out the same space.
We're able to reach more consumers, get people to try the product. We were out in West Pullman kind of catering to that area. So now us coming this way, we're able to cater to those in Bronzeville, South Loop, Hyde Park, even downtown Chicago.
A whole new customer base.
A diverse business like that would be tough for two people to run out of a brick and mortar shop, and even tougher in the kind of underserved communities in which both AMP and Cloud set up shop.
You know, as a minority, we also provide a really equitable way for small entrepreneurs that might not have access to capital to start a business.
In our South LA location, what we've really seen is a ton of Black-owned businesses, people who live in that neighborhood, who have developed, successful businesses. We see a ton of people from that community who just needed that next step.
Now that's a world in which all the players on Rockwell want to live. The question is, are they gonna get there? Both sides have been going back and forth trying to work it out, but it's been a tug of war. After many tense public meetings, Cloud Kitchen's made a plan. They're focusing on thinning traffic, giving drivers their own space off the street, and setting up a runner system to keep drivers in their cars. But now, the neighbors are pushing Alderman Martin to get in front of future issues. The top thing on their list? A promise a second fast food chain won't wind up in Rockwell.
We started seeing a significant uptake in traffic and parking and related complaints when Chick-fil-A started operating. So that is not a locally owned and operated business that needs help in the form of a shared kitchens concept in order to get off the ground.
Chick-fil-A is blamed for most of the traffic on the block. Now, Rockwell Kitchens isn't operating at capacity yet, and the fear is that adding a second high-volume fast food joint in the future will make today's plan obsolete. Cloud Kitchens won't make that promise, saying it doesn't make business sense. So the meetings continue, even though both sides are ready to get to the money.
So there's a lot of frustration around that because these are hours-long meetings. All these meetings up to this point, since January, there's been one meeting per month, the same attempts at resolution, and then at the end of the meeting, we're going to meet again next month. Everyone across the board is actually on the same page where they're all fed up with these meetings. Like they want some type of resolution for these meetings to end.
Now the group that runs those meetings, the Chicago Business Affairs Department, well, neighbors say they're wasting their time because they don't have the muscle. Now they're pushing Alderman Martin to take their case to the people who run the roads, the Chicago Department of Transportation. For Cloud Kitchens, they've taken their operators out of the kitchen and put them in front of the people, making the case that it's the neighbors who are threatening small businesses.
They're also in a very tough industry, and I really want to give them the opportunity to share their voice. I think it's important now that we show what these conversations and who they're directly going to impact, and it's going to be these small and medium business owners.
Now, if Rockwell holds a lesson here, it's that cities and states are ill-equipped to help the industry navigate growing pains.
Nobody knows when you say virtual, cloud, ghost, what does that mean? And that's a problem right now, because not even the city of Chicago knows what that means.
The city of Chicago has rules about how many nail salons can be near each other. If you want to open a liquor store, there are rules in the city of Chicago for a liquor license where you have to get community buy-in. As of right now, Cloud Kitchens, as a ghost kitchen, the city just doesn't have the vocabulary to regulate it the way that you would regulate these other types of businesses.
how we want to adjust these in light of what is a relatively novel business model. We want to be able to see around the curve now that we know what's coming. So I would encourage anybody in any part of the country to take a look at what folks can do as of right, so that you're not in the position that we're in right now to be forced to be reactive.
So as it stands right now, the future for food delivery continues down Rockwell Avenue. Here's to a smoother road ahead. Let's hope. I'm the Destin legend Leon Rogers, and thank you for spending a minute with me right here at Fox 32, Chicago.